Well, hey there, greetings, salutations, all of that. My name is Jules, and today I am renovating my baby mama's house. So, when I decided to start this Science Baby Challenge, I wanted it to be that our matriarch bought a crappy little house, a starter home, but one that was super outdated. And in fact, this build was inspired by my grandmother's house, which, not to say that my grandmother's house was crappy, but by today's standards, it would certainly be outdated. Much like I've gotten sick of looking at our matriarch Karen in the same outfit and hairstyle every day and gave her a makeover, I'm also getting really sick of looking at this ugly house. So I decided to make it a little bit more functional, clean it up a little bit, and I guess kind of modernize it, although I'm not good with styles. I think I can make things look good, but as I always say, knowledge about decor styles really is not my thing. In a lot of ways, the changes that I made kind of make the house feel a little bit smaller, but I still think it's going to be a lot more functional for them. For example, I decided to give the babies and the toddlers their own room, little section attached to Karen's room. But that, of course, means that her room is going to be much smaller. For now, I just put an archway connecting the two, but depending on how things go, I might end up putting a door there. I might even end up moving the babies and the infants out. Hopefully, I'll only have one at a time, but we don't want them waking up their siblings every time they cry. I cleaned up the garden a bit too, kind of got things in order a bit more and made it look like an actual garden rather than just random plants sprinkled all over the place. I do eventually want to build a greenhouse for her. And also, I'm not really sure how she became a gardener because she was supposed to be a musician, but hey, we got to make money wherever we can so we can keep making those babies. And the only reason that I didn't give her a greenhouse now is because we were running really low on funds. So next episode, we need to earn a lot so that we can make another baby. Now, I hate carpets. I think they're gross. I never use them in my builds, but again, I wanted this house to be super outdated, so kind of the time where everyone wanted wall-to-wall carpet, but it was definitely time to change that. So we're going over to hardwood floors throughout the house, except, of course, for the kitchen and the bathrooms, which we'll get to a little later, and I'll be tiling those. And right now, I am just decorating the new baby's room. We're going to keep this room really simple. I don't even know if you could call it a room. It's kind of like a converted closet, but I wanted it to be pretty neutral, unisex. Yellow and green are always good colors for that, or at least they were in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And just moving back out to the living room, decided to make the kitchen and living room open concept, hoping that it would make things feel a little bigger, but that didn't really work out, and you'll see why a little later. And because it's open concept now, I wanted to change up the layout of the living room, and it takes me a little while to get it just right, but I do like how it turns out, and I think it's really cozy. And speaking of cozy, that's kind of why I'm looking at the couches and sofa and chairs that I am, because I wanted them to be comfy ones, and I am upgrading the stove. She's actually a pretty good cook, and even well, I guess Charlotte hasn't cooked. Charlotte, her oldest daughter, usually just makes salads and things like that, but Karen is a decent cook, so we don't really have issues with fires, but I wanted to have better quality meals. Oh my gosh, I just realized that I forgot to put a high chair in this build, so I'll have to do that before I start playing, and I'm not really sure where there's going to be room for one, but we'll see. Just picking slightly slightly more modern cabinets now. The only downside of an open concept living space is that we did lose a lot of wall space for cabinets, but the upside is that Sims don't need cabinets. Her kitchen suddenly got a lot smaller, but it is equally functional. And now I'm just picking out the tile for the kitchen. I wanted to use a terracotta tile, and decided to pick the wall tile first so that I could choose one that looked right. I always use these jungle adventure tiles. I just think they're so pretty. I use them in various shades, but I love them. They're like my favorite ever. And I also had to try a few different options for the dining table because not everything fits so well. I wanted it to be as functional as possible, and a lot of times they wouldn't be able to access some of the chairs or the door would be blocking it. So we'll get back to that later. And I'm just going into the baby's room now and basically just removing the molding. And so back to the floor. Terracotta. Decided to go with one with kind of a pink tone to complement the tile on the wall. And you know what I really wish we had, and correct me if I'm wrong, and we do have this, or if there's a way to create this, let me know how. But I really wish we had like floor, I guess it's called molding, to separate like the different types of flooring from room to room when you're building an open concept. Would just be a little more realistic and finished, in my opinion. I love the patterns on that table and chair from high school years, and I really wanted an excuse to use it yet again, but it just didn't work in this space. So now I'm looking for a rug, and I'm pretty sure I end up sizing down a rug for this one because nothing really fit quite right. It was always too small or too big. I like this carpet a lot, but I don't really think it fits the vibe that we're kind of going for here. It's a little too ornate. I want something a little bit more simple, so I am not going to use that carpet. Yes, of course, the fluffy one. I love that one. That's better. That is my final decision. I will be keeping that carpet, although I don't really recall if I try to use any others in between. And I keep like wanting to put the sofa facing the door, but that is just bad feng shui, so I can't bring myself to do it. I decided to angle in the chair from Eco Lifestyle, and every table I tried to use was just way too big and clunky and looked ridiculous. So I went with the tiny little table, the base game table that's like for infants, I guess, and toddlers. Put that carpet back in. Just kind of get things at the right angle, scooch everything in. And I knew I wanted kind of like, well, quite frankly, I knew I wanted exactly this. It's classified as a dresser, but I knew I could put a TV on it. And I just feel like it fits. I don't know why. I just love it. I love that thing in general. You probably see me use it a lot. And I didn't want upper cabinets because I always think things look a lot more modern with shelves, like open shelving in kitchens. Now, mind you, in real life, that's not always very practical because you can't hide anything. But in The Sims, it works out great because they don't use the cabinets. They don't put anything in them. And all their food is in the fridge. Sort of. Not really, but... So this is the table. I think I do end up going with this table and using this one at the end. But I am going to change the positioning of it because, as you can see, the chairs are going into the walls, and that doesn't really work for me. I don't know about you, but I think that looks weird. So we turn it this way and put 4 chairs at it, and the door's accessible, so that works out great. And then I felt like the only thing that this room needed to kind of complete it was a carpet. Nothing really felt right. I do end up looking specifically for the Parenthood little tiny rug that I guess is supposed to be a bathroom rug, but I know that one has a lot of pretty patterns, and since nothing else was quite right, I figured we would go with that one. And I picked this rug with, I think it's supposed to be feathers, because I felt like the colors matched the tiles on the walls. And that's pretty much all I did for the kitchen and dining area. Right now I'm tiling this tiny little bathroom that I decided to make because I think as the kids get older, it's probably a good idea for us to have more than one bathroom. My original plan was to put only a sink and a toilet in that room and make it like a half bath, but I decided that since I can't really do that on 2 tiles, I needed 3 tiles anyway, which I'm going to figure that out in a moment because it didn't occur to me for some reason, even though I know it. I decided to go ahead and add a shower. And if you notice here, I'm making our larger bathroom, like our family bathroom, actually a little bit smaller, which originally when I built this house, it was smaller. But I decided to put that little alcove there in Charlotte's bedroom because I just didn't like that the door was right up against the corner. That just didn't feel right to me. So I got over it because it just functionally makes more sense. I want her to have a little bit of space. And eventually, most likely, there will be more than one girl in that room. I am separating girls and boys as much as I can, but it's going to get hard soon because we have so many boys and still only Charlotte. And now that I've added a tile onto this bathroom, the TV didn't really work where it was, so I decided to angle it out a bit, which actually I think makes a little bit more sense anyway. And I do realize that this living area looks very, very tiny, but it's still fully functional and it looks cozy to me. They don't have a big house, but maybe someday we'll get there. And if not for Karen, for our next matriarch or patriarch, because Science Baby Challenge, we can literally pick anyone we want. And now finally moving on to the kids' rooms, and I will admit to you that the boys, as they do with fashion choices, got a little bit neglected when it comes to their bedroom. And that's just because I ran out of money and because I wanted Charlotte to have a few things in her room. She will be the first to move out, so hopefully we can upgrade the boys' room after she moves out. But basically the boys ended up having nothing other than beds. I can never really figure out what bunks are supposed to go with or what beds are supposed to go with the top bunks. I kind of felt like this one worked because they match, but they're not like exactly the same pattern. But I really wish that some of those, what's the pack called? Dream Home Decorator. I wish that some of the beds from that pack would be labeled bottom bunk. And of course I had to give Charlotte her iconic skull bed back. It just fits her so well. She really can't have any other bed in my opinion. She loves pretty things and she's a beautiful girl, but she is so bitter and so angry because, mom didn't know what the heck she was doing. She was her first, so I guess we'll forgive her a little bit. And I'm giving Charlotte back her yoga mat because she does have a wellness aspiration. I'm thinking in the next episode we might take her to a park or somewhere like that and have her teach a yoga class, which I don't even know that she's qualified to do yet. I don't remember how that works, but we're going to try and have her teach a yoga class so maybe we can make a little bit of money that way too, because, hey, we might as well use the teens while we got them, right? And I gave Charlotte this rug that's supposed to be an infant rug, but I really like the way it looks with the colors in her room, and she needed some dark blue walls. Little bit moody. I'm just going to put some artwork up on the wall. And at first I thought I wanted a tapestry, and this one is so pretty. I love it. I will definitely be using that again, but it just was too dark to go with the paint that we already had. And I thought, well, you know what? Actually, a teen is more likely to have like posters on her wall, so that's why I decided to give her that one. I am adding some clutter, but I do end up taking that away later because, frankly, I ran out of money and we really couldn't afford clutter. Can you imagine? But anyway, so I gave her a desk and she needs some makeup. Well, she doesn't need makeup. Nobody needs makeup, especially not teenagers or anyone for that matter. But she likes makeup and she wants to wear makeup. So I'm just setting up a little makeup station for her here. I don't remember if I gave her a mirror or if I just I ran out of money. Probably ran out of money. Just assume she uses a standing mirror or maybe like a compact. And now mom needs a bed, but I have almost no money. And maybe I should have prioritized her bed and given her a nicer one because she went so long with horrible sleep, with so many babies, infants, and toddlers. But this is kind of like a moderate level bed. We can always upgrade it later. And she's been doing pretty well. She's been getting enough sleep now that we're not having 3 babies at once. And now that we've got a couple of teens in the house that can help out. I know they're not supposed to, but who doesn't play it that way? Honestly, does anyone play The Sims and not have their teens help out? As always, friends, that is my story, and I hope you have a lovely day. Bye!